The valuable, just like easy to understand component of using a system to handle a lot of your sales processes, like number one, you don't have the constraint of time. One of the amazing things about using AI to handle top, mid of your funnel, qualify and book appointments for you is that you can lean into typically like lower cost lead services. I think our biggest roadmap update that we're thinking about is dispositions. Same thing, but obviously in reverse. So especially for the wholesale shops out there, the opportunity to go sell your opportunity, build your buyers list. We can use our model to effectively handle those calls and determine like where we can best place them and serve them in a way that's going to be valuable for everybody.
Do you guys want to close more deals and do it with less effort? I just interviewed Jarod with Hey Rafi in our private mastermind community, and he talked about how he's been able to get people to go from $2,500 to $8,000 per contract all the way down to $500 per contract by automating things with AI. AI is taking over, and he's going to share how he has built a platform that's helping real estate investors to absolutely crush their previous numbers. I'm really excited for this one. Go check it out. All right, Jarod. So AI has been a big topic of conversation lately. There's a lot of AI platforms, Claude, ChatGPT, all these things that are coming into the mix to kind of help with the business side and even the personal side of what it can do to help people to kind of be more automated and kind of get things done quicker and faster. So in the real estate investing world, it sounds like you've kind of really been in the side of it to kind of like help real estate investors automate a lot of stuff in the real estate investing business to help convert more sales and just do a lot of things that will help real estate investors do more deals. I mean, that's what it's all about, is doing more deals. So kind of tell us a little bit about how you got started in the AI side of the business and where you see AI going right now for real estate investing and where you see it going kind of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of take maybe a quick step back too, right? And I think maybe the origin story will bleed a little bit more into like the problems that we're actually trying to solve. So I'm actually not originally in from like the real estate community at all, or really whether that's brokerage side or anything. I spent about 15 years in enterprise level sales where we were selling like large platform solutions. My typical deal size would, usually take 2 to 5 years, but we would net like a $25 million check at the end of the day. So I was involved in very complex deals that take long periods of time, big payoffs at the end. I personally thrived. I loved the complexity of it. So as I started to personally get into real estate investing, I saw a lot of the similar problems that a lot of operators in this space face that I had gone through myself. Number one, long, complex deals, right? They can typically take a long period of time to pay off, but when they do, there can be a long like a nice little fat nut at the end of the day. So we have really built Rafi in an effort to solve, in my opinion, which is the hardest, most challenging facet for a real estate sales organization, and that is acquisitions room. And if you actually look at some of the things that exist out there, right? Unfortunately, actually, you guys unfortunately get the bad brunt of this. A lot of marketing companies, they get treated as if they are the problem of the sales effort.
Yep.
Every investor has the same problems. I need more leads, I need better quality leads, and I want a low marketing spend, right? Well, at the end of the day, marketing usually isn't the actual problem for real estate investors. It's actually their sales mechanics and it's the way they're managing their pipeline. And so we've seen this as a giant area of opportunity because a lot of, especially wholesale shops, they're the bread and butter of this. They'll spend 30 to 50% of the revenue on marketing. So we have built Rafi in an effort to, hey, let's just automate and take away all of the sales practices that exist in the top of the funnel, in the middle of the funnel, to allow sales teams really just to focus on that last mile, which is really where they have limited time anyway. So let's just give them the most high and best use of their time. So that is really what we've built, right? We've built to solve really the sales room challenges. Operators in this space, as you know, you spend a lot of your time just going through fulfillment, which is dispositioning, deal analysis, underwriting, trying to handle all the TC and the title work, all of those things that actually end up getting away. That's manual. There's a lot of compliance that exists there. It's still pretty challenging to actually automate a lot of those tasks. So why not take away the sales activities, which give more time back to actually being able to monetize on the deals that are out there. So hopefully that answered your question a little bit on our origin story. Let me know if I need to clean anything else up though that you want me to tell.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. I've just been realizing that we've been a service provider about 6 years now, and so we've kind of seen the back end of real estate investors' businesses where I didn't get to see that before. And I've heard this conversation many times, really in the last couple of years, of like people being like, you know what, most of the time it's not a lead source problem, it is a conversion problem. And anytime we get on with one of our clients and they're like, hey, we're getting lots of leads, we're just not converting many, like the quality's not there. And so we'll kind of analyze, first of all, the amount of leads they're getting. So if someone says, like most recently, we said someone said they had 90 leads and only did one deal out of those 90 leads.
Ouch.
So what we did is we dug in and we said, okay, how many of those leads have been contacted? And I can't remember what the percentage was. It was like, I think 40%. Like 40% of the leads that came into their CRM had been contacted. So automatically you're taking 60% of your leads, and it's like you're just kind of pissing away that ad spend, right? And so I totally agree with you that when you look at what your business is doing, people will go, well, I just need to spend more money to make more money. But really, when you go into your business and realize that there's many inefficiencies, you can figure out how to take the same amount of leads that you're getting and do more deals. And we did that too last year. In fact, last quarter of last year, we transitioned a lead manager over from property manager to lead manager. And I thought it was just a slow time of year, and I kind of was like not looking at it as much because I've got a lot of other stuff going on. And then once we dug into it, it's like, man, we really had a intake problem in converting those leads into appointments. So I'm kind of curious how you've solved that. Because like you said, like if someone calls in, you don't answer the phone, the likelihood that you're going to get that deal goes down dramatically every single second and minute that goes by that you don't contact that person, because they are calling somebody else. They're getting in their head that they're, maybe going to use someone else. Maybe they thought to themselves, like, if this business has an answer and I can't get a hold of them, are they a legit business? Like, there's all those things. So tell us how you solved that and how you kind of went down that road.
I'd be happy to. And I want to show you something too that'll speak to the original point you made. Would you mind giving me presenter permissions here? I'll pull
Yeah.
that up kind of as we're talking here. But yeah, I mean, look, the valuable, just like easy to understand component of using a system to handle a lot of your sales processes, like number one, you don't have the constraint of time. So whether it's I'm going to answer a call or I'm going to make a call, I can do that as many times as I'd like, as quickly as I'd like, across as many instances as I'd like, right? And that way, to your point, right? Like I can land that conversation, I can qualify that opportunity, and I can quickly set them up, or I can secondly triage that call in a way that's going to be most advantageous, really, to the end operator, or really like the business. So check this slide out. This is just an example, but I want to paint this picture because this is a real live example that we took from a operator's business. This is a typical pipeline over a month, and I've just broken down their pipeline into different stages here. So you got new, connected, qualified, opportunity, close. And just to tee up some of these, new is uncontacted, obviously. Contacted is contacted. Qualified is qualified. Opportunity would mean like a deal that you presented an offer on, or there's an open contract. And then close would be under contract. So that's not necessarily like money in the bank. So as you see, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and it kind of breaks down the number of leads that end up falling through each of these buckets. And we have what's called an ascension rate. And I don't know how familiar you are with sales mechanics, but ascension rate is essentially what percentage of each stage leave to go to the next stage. So you have 70% ascension rate from new to connected. That means you connect with 70% of them. Kind of shows these numbers. Well, whatever. And as an operator, right, like it's easy for us to sit here in a knee-jerk reaction and say, like, you know what, this feels pretty good, right? Week 1, I got a contract. Money in the bank, baby. Week 2, I got 2 contracts. And like, okay, maybe week 3, week 4, I whiffed and I didn't get anyone here and here. But what doesn't get talked about enough is all of the stuff that's remaining. So if I add up all the new leads that enter my system and I subtract all the contacted leads that are in the system over this given month, it's 50 leads that still exist that I've never made contact with. And what happens is these things compound, and they compound in each one of these categories, right? And these always happen in the top to mid portion of your funnel. And the reason being is not because we're doing something wrong necessarily, it's because as salespeople, we always want to stay as close to the money as possible, right? So, you're an investor, you'll appreciate this, right? You're at the 89th mile of a deal, right? Like somebody's so close to signing, everybody's agreeing, right? But it ends up still taking some time, effort, and energy to get them there. But that same time, effort, and energy does not go into the top half of the funnel. So if you actually break it down, it means it's 2/3 of everything that's in your pipeline just in this 1 month alone never get love. They don't ever get worked again, right? And that's where all the money exists, right? And so the typical, and this will be the last slide I share, but the average cost per contract right now in the US, right, is anywhere from 2,500 bucks to 8 grand, depending on lead source and some of these other things. But if you actually break it, and what that actually looks like is you're typically converting about half a point per month of your total pipeline. But in actual practice, there's 3% of your pipeline that's actually turning over. So that means properties that are getting listed. That means people that are going with other services or other providers. And if you actually do the math, that means you could get a deal under contract for 500 to 800 bucks on average. That's just doing better sales practices and just simply focusing on top of the funnel versus trying to spend a whole bunch of extra time, effort, and energy on the money. So hopefully that made sense. But that just like really resonates in my opinion, because it's like, holy cow, there's just the obvious numbers. Like there's something to be had.
Want to get motivated sellers that nobody knows about? Introducing 10x TV. If you want to create credibility in your market, find deals that nobody else knows about, and crush your competition, you need to check into TV commercials. It is the new buzz in the real estate investing industry since we introduced it several years ago. I've been using TV commercials myself for the last 12 years and it's absolutely crushed it. So if you want to learn how to get on TV and to do something that little to no people are doing right now, go to claimmymarket.com. Again, that's claimmymarket.com. We usually only work with 2 investors per market, so if you're interested, reach out to us and book a call to see if you can claim your market before anybody else does. Now back to the show. So you feel like with AI and your system in particular, Rafi, that you could get cost per contract from 2,500 to 8,000 down to 500 to, I can't remember what the second number was there.
500 to 800 bucks.
You feel like you can get it down that dramatically?
Oh, absolutely. Let me see if I can actually share the example. I'll try to pull it up while we're talking here. One of the amazing things about using AI to handle top mid of your funnel, qualify and book appointments for you, is that you can lean into typically like lower cost lead services. So for example, Facebook leads. Facebook leads notoriously a very low quality lead source. Yes, we are going to pay a lower cost per lead on those, but I'm going to have to filter through a lot more things in order to get there. Well, we've actually been running an experiment for the last 5 months. What is it? May 28th. So it'll be coming up on 6 months here. We helped one team drop their gross leads to contract from 137 to 34 to 1. So that's a 70% reduction in total cost per contract. And by the way, it's not because we're necessarily like the greatest thing ever when we get somebody on the phone. It's just we're more attentive to doing the repetitious motions of getting people on the phone and then qualifying them and then progressing them through your pipeline systematically so that there's just more opportunities at the end of the day.
And what lead sources were those? Because that's
all Facebook. That's just Facebook.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
We've got some other numbers I can share with you too that might give you a better story. So,
yeah,
our system, we've kind of birthed our system in a place where like, hey, just give us your entire database and we will uncover opportunities that already exist in your own database and surface those as booked appointments or qualified opportunities. So right now, like if you just dump your system in there, on average, we'll be able to qualify and book an appointment for 1 out of every 6 leads that enters, right? And so there could be deals that have already closed, properties that have already been sold, whatever. But 1 out of every 6 that's in there, that can be pretty good, especially for like a long-term follow-up pool where there's just a bunch of garbage in there. On higher quality lead sources, PPC, just as an example, will qualify 80 to 90% of those within the first 48 hours. But the thing, and this is kind of where this all comes together, where it gets the best is over time. So actually at the 3-week mark is where we start to outperform a human. We'll qualify 10 to 15% more than a human being will. And that's usually just because we've just been doing it more repetitiously for a little bit longer. If you actually think about that, that makes sense too, right? Like most teams won't follow up very heavily past that 2nd week mark. Good teams, they'll continue to kind of kick opportunities around, but I'm talking about heavy follow-up, heavy prospecting, heavy lead nurture typically doesn't happen after that time. So we can pick up the pieces and end up creating a great deal more of opportunities for our end clients. But that really looks like 123 touches a month, 4+ touches a day. And believe it or not, we can keep somebody on the phone almost a minute once we've got them there. And that's ideally really just to kind of qualify them and take them through the process. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. So all these numbers are awesome. So dive into how that's done. Is it AI answering? Is it like the follow-up system? Is it all the above? Kind of take us through how you've been able to use the AI to get these better numbers that we've seen here.
Okay. Let me just pull up the platform, and I'll just kind of take you through a demo. That might be the easiest way
Perfect.
for us to do that. Hey Rafi's built in a way where it can be its own standalone service, or it can be a bolt-on service to maybe whatever CRM you're operating in. And we want you really to think of Rafi as if he's maybe a follow-up specialist, a lead setter, an appointment setter. He can actually even take a conversation all the way through the offer and process call. Most of our customers just don't want us to do that, and that's totally fine. But there's a flexibility of really just being a replacement of a person that's in your acquisitions room. So you can connect through any integration, both in and out of Rafi, just using some simple API or Zapier keys. You can also add leads into the system by doing a bulk up port, right? Like, so if you've got like a couple thousand leads in your system, you want to just drop them into the account, you can do that. And then once a lead enters Rafi, we will read all of the context that exists on that lead. So a new lead that enters the system where we don't have much contact is going to be treated differently than a lead that you've uploaded already from your system, where maybe you've got some call history, we've got some context around it, maybe they told us about what's going on. And on each one of those leads, we create a unique prospecting strategy to allow us to then go out and get that person qualified. And what I mean by prospecting strategies, we're going to use calling, we're going to use emailing, and we will use texting. We're going to use those three things in concert with one another. So ideally, get somebody on the phone. And then once we get them on the phone, we're going to ask them questions around their timeline, price point, motivation. And if there's inherent motivation, then we'll attempt a live transfer. And if nobody picks up the live transfer or claims that lead, essentially, then we'll actually revert back to a booked appointment. Our agent will get back on the phone and say, hey, nobody's available right now. Why don't I set you up for a call with XYZ home buyers at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and whatever, can kind of negotiate and go from there. And it is literally that simple. It's just set up in a way where we will continuously manage and nurture all of the leads that exist in the system. We're going to update lead statuses and take things through their general motions. We'll continuously also work follow-ups too. So if something's unqualified, i.e. like, hey, you know what, I'm not really interested right now, but why don't you give me a call back in 6 months? We'll actually automatically set up an appointment time for us to call them back at that juncture. So that's what I mean by it's really like kind of like a salesperson in its own right.
Yeah. So did you have a question, Daniel?
Yeah, so is this like AI that's doing all the follow-up, or do you guys have someone on your team that's doing all those calls and text messages? It sounds like it's an AI system that's doing that, right?
It is all AI, correct?
Okay, cool. And so do you guys integrate with like Go Ahead Level, or would you become the main CRM system, basically?
Good question. It can be both. Most of our customers prefer that we integrate with your service. So during our onboarding that we go through with all of our customers, we actually sit down on an implementation call, and we would literally talk with you and say like, hey, talk to me a little bit about your sales process. How do you want this to look and work within your own system so that we're not disrupting your flow, but it actually works like in accompaniment or in congruence of what you're already doing, right? So maybe you've got a bunch of salespeople and you want it to make sure it's communicating with them. And so we have to think through also how it's being like listed and shows up in your system and all this kind of thing. So anyway, point is it could be either, but most of the time it's going to be an integrated service from what most of our customers like.
Got it. Okay, because I actually just started running Facebook ads, and I'm getting a lot of leads, which are like what you're referring to. But like some of them are kind of like trash, or some of them are like, "Well, I'm not ready yet." I'm noticing that. So okay, but I've been using Go High Level right now. So okay, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, man. Good question.
So Jared, to tap into that, so if he's using Go High Level or any other CRM, if the lead comes in, it can go into Hey Rafi, or you can just upload them manually, right? When they're communicated with through Hey Rafi, does it automatically tell Go High Level or whatever platform what is going on with that lead?
We can. What usually ends up happening, Tony, is, like during implementation call, our partner will ask us that exact same question. My response is always like, all right, well, why do you want to see that? Right. Because it's really only one of two reasons. Number one, it's a trust thing, right? Like, well, I just want to make sure that it's doing the right thing. And that's totally fine, right? Because we can provide audit logs. I can give you examples of how it's communicating. That's all fine. Or the other reason is because maybe they're also calling in tandem with this thing as well. And that always comes back to the way that we've designed kind of our setup with whatever team we're working with, because at the end of the day, you don't really care, right? As long as I'm giving you qualified booking appointments, I'm doing the things in the right way. Like, you don't necessarily want all of that extra weight in your system. I'll give you an example. I'm just going to pull up a random lead here, but if I were to go in and say, pull this lead, and I want to go to activity, and this one looks like it doesn't even have a phone number. So it's just only got email, right? There's probably, I don't know, 75 emails in here, and it's just all from us. Like, you don't necessarily care about seeing all of that. You really want to know the juicy, salacious stuff, which is like made contact, qualified, unqualified, kind of see where those things are at. So anyway, point is we map those processes out in a way that is still going to serve you, but it's usually not like you don't want to see it all. It's a lot of data.
Okay. So if I already have like a follow-up, so I use left main, which is with Salesforce or on Salesforce platform. I already have automated text messages and emails. So let's say a lead comes in and your system can actually answer those calls too, right? Not actually just follow up.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
can so I can rotate it to where it goes to my lead manager. If my lead manager doesn't answer, hey, Rafi answers. And then at that point, it's in Hey Rafi. And then does what if both systems are working in tandem and texting and emailing at the same time? Does that really matter?
that's going to be a personal preference. Probably only what would matter is like, what do you want to do when one of us makes contact? And then we would just figure out how that communication needs to take place between those two systems. That's usually a simple, like, hey, we just solve that with Zapier. Maybe something's going to come back into our system where we're going to disable what we call prospecting. So we're no longer going to keep calling on it, or vice versa, right? It could also go the other way once we book an appointment or disqualify a lead.
Okay. And then one thing we've talked about in our mastermind calls is our other pods masterminds that's a little bit different than what we're doing here is the realness of the voice of AI. Do you feel like it's like how good do you think it is and how good do you think it's going to get in the next, couple years? Because I imagine as it's getting used, it's getting better, every day, every month, every, however often. Kind of talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, here's the beautiful thing about at least the product that we're trying to, the things that we're trying to accomplish today is we don't necessarily need to disguise the fact that we're AI. Although we don't lead with it per se, but as long as we're serving the consumer or like the lead in a way that best serves them, people are pretty willing to stick around and talk, even if it's an AI, you know? Obviously, the technology is very good and it is only getting better. We've been at this for over a year now, and I would say that the performance of just the quality of the voice has probably tripled, maybe quadrupled. And what I'm really talking about is some of the quality components, things like the and the and some of like the latency that you hear in a lot of things. Although latency is actually kind of a funny caveat, I can talk about in a moment. But I'm going to give you an example. You call Verizon because you've got a phone problem, right? And when you call them up, you don't get mad at the fact that you're calling and talking to a robot. You get mad because you've got to go through all the stupid phone prompts and it's taking you longer to be served. And that's why you want to talk to a human. Talk to a human. I want to be able to be served faster. But the cool thing about the technology that's available to us today is you're now not constrained to a phone menu or prompts, right? I can very plainly have a conversation with you. So that allows us to serve somebody relatively quickly. And usually the point that we're engaging with somebody is there's already some inherent level of opt-in, right? So they've called in because they saw a TV ad or direct mail, or maybe we're doing an outbound blast because they filled out a web form and we're engaging with them that way. So they know that the call is typically coming. So once we get somebody on the phone, it's just a matter of, hey, let's quickly and efficiently ask them the questions to qualify the lead and then just go from there. So I'd be happy to play you a couple of examples if you want to hear some.
Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah, I'd love to hear them for sure.
All right, let me pull these up. And what's cool about what we are actually able to do right now, we actually have this AI agent thing over here, which actually gives us the ability to have a flexible framework for anybody's account. What's kind of cool about that is we realized that um, every team's kind of got their own secret sauce, right? They've got their own things that they want the agent to ask. They've got their own process that they really want to adhere to. So this framework has really allowed us to kind of serve like any one of our partners in a way that really maps, our process to theirs. So I'll play these two. Oh, you know what? We're on Zoom. Can I get audio sharing on Zoom? I know sometimes that's a little.
Yeah, if you unshare and then you hit share again, there should be a share sound button. And as
All
you're
right.
doing that, I could just imagine like all of the gold that's sitting in a lot of CRMs where there's just a ton of leads that have not been followed up with, haven't been contacted. We actually just got a deal done. It is the fourth, at least the fourth house this person has sold to us. They're a landlord. They had like, I can't remember how many houses, 10 houses or something like that. So
Jeez.
we did really good with the first house. Then they came back to us, sold us the second house, now the third house, now the fourth house. And I guess what I'm getting to is, let's say we didn't make contact with them when the first house was sold to us and somebody else bought that house. If we weren't contacting them, then there'd be no chance that we would get the second, third, or fourth house. Now, not everybody has multiple houses, but the
Yeah.
point is that like if somebody else had been contacted and had a really good follow-up system, they may have gotten that second, third, and fourth house as opposed to us. But I imagine that a lot of people don't have that. So when we actually answered the phone and did the deal with them, when they had the next houses to sell, they only came to us, right?
Yeah.
So,
Perfect,
yeah.
man. Perfect. Yeah. Follow up. Follow up is key. It's so important. Let me, Tony, let me play a couple of these examples. We got a couple different voices too. That's the other thing you can kind of play on voices. Can you hear this?
Yep.
I'm calling you back regarding your inquiry about selling the property at Kislati Way. I'm looking at our notes here. It looks like you reached out and left a voicemail requesting Kayla call back, so I wanted to follow up on that. Do you still have an interest in discussing a cash offer for the home?
Yes.
Got it. If we were able to come to an agreement on a fair price, do you feel realistically prepared to move forward with the sale right now?
Yes.
That's good to hear. To help us understand your situation better,
Play number one just so you guys get a taste for some of the other ones.
Hi, Bill. This is Alex. How are you today?
I'm fine, Alex. What's this call regarding?
I'm reaching out regarding your property on Arnold Terrace. You filled out an online form a while back that suggested you wanted to sell your home for cash. Is that still the case?
Yes, I'm definitely still interested in a cash offer.
I can keep going if you want, but it's usually far enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we can tell because we know. What are the percentages of people that actually say, is this AI? Or, they kind of catch that it's not necessarily human. How often does that happen, would you say?
We don't I'll be honest, we don't track how many times people ask that question. Like, hey, is this AI? What we do track is the number of hangups. And we will call it a statistical hangup if they hang up after the first 9 seconds. It only happens about 8% of the time total. But what we found in part of the things that we do is obviously we're using texting and emailing as well, because we can complement even our calling in those certain scenarios with that. We can usually still book the appointment regardless. So we're not missing a tremendous amount of opportunity usually for our end customer. But I'll also mention, even at 8%, like I don't necessarily think that we also don't know how much of that is people just hanging up to hang up versus hanging up because they think it's an AI. Like I don't know that we have good data on that, but I can tell you we've had some funny examples. So we'll take somebody all the way through the call, and like at the very end they'll be like, "Oh, wait a minute. Am I talking to an AI?" And then of course, like we have the script is like, "Yeah, I'm an AI assistant for blah 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 company." So that's always kind of funny. We've also had a couple of scenarios too where like we'll book an appointment for somebody, and then we'll hear from our customer that their customer was like, "Yeah, I talked to your AI agent earlier, to book this call." So like that's kind of the proof in our eyes of like, yeah, okay, people are totally willing to talk with an AI as long as we're doing our job on the front end of having a graceful conversation and take them through the steps.
So tell me if I'm wrong, but the playbook you just kind of showed for a second, that's basically, it's kind of like a prompt for AI. It's saying, this is the business, this is the way we want the call answered, this is the flow we want of the conversation. Is that what the playbook is?
There is some hard integrated stuff that exists on the back end that gives the agent lots of context. What the AI agent, kind of the documentation that you see here, this is we call it a playbook. So that's the rule set. That's going to be the questions that you want it to ask. you don't have to do this, but it can also give you things like explicit statements on how you want that intro to sound. You don't necessarily have to give it an actual script, but you can. It'll tell you things to stay away from. It'll tell you basically the call flow. It'll tell you the questions that it should ask and the way that it should qualify. So, hey, if we so for example, if I'm ABC Homebuyers and I want to not take any listed properties as a lead, I can tell it to disqualify that lead right there and drop basically the call. I can tell it how to follow up and circle back with some of these opportunities. It is really just the explicit set of instructions that you're giving our model and how you'd like to handle that call itself.
Okay, I like that because I feel like there's a couple other platforms we've checked out where they're like, we don't have that. Like, we're going to set it up this way, and this is the way it needs to be. So if we wanted to only ask, let's say, because here's the thing for me, when I have an answering service answer the phone, I only want them to ask like 5 questions: name, phone number, address, asking price, and how did you hear about us? I don't want them getting into a bunch of little details because that's more likely for the answering service to mess something up, or for them to ask a question that the answering service can't answer, and then it just looks bad. Can you do the same? I'm guessing you can do the same thing with the playbook, right? It's just like, get these 5 questions answered, and when they're answered, prompt them that they're going to have someone else give them a call back with a cash offer, right?
100%. Actually, and what you brought up is probably one of the biggest things that we serve our existing customers. We also have the same thing for inbound calls, right? Because to your point, if I'm calling off of a TV ad, right, I can't screw that up. I got one shot. I got one shot to capture that deal. So this is an area where we find most of our customers will probably put the most time, effort, and energy into manipulating this playbook in a way that best serves them. Usually for us, it's just like property address, phone number, name, and then let's boogie, right? They're calling in, they're at least interested, someone in selling. We'll go from there. But we could do whatever. We can ask as many questions as it needs to be.
Okay. I think I may have one or two more, but questions. But so we're launching TV commercials in other markets now. We've got a lead manager we're hiring that's going to potentially take those calls. Sometimes the floodgates open when we launch a new market. We could get 100 calls, right? I mean, and for a lead manager that's already handling another market, that could be a lot for them to handle in another market, or a new market. Um, so my reservation would be, them not knowing that it's AI, and then at some point them like going, oh, this sounds too robotic. So I guess what my question would be, do you have very many people, or would you ever recommend them saying something like, hey, thanks for calling Professional Home Buyers. This is an automated answering service. We're going to ask you a few questions and transfer you to a live agent. And at any point you want to talk to a live agent, just press 2 or something like that. Would you recommend that? Do you have anybody doing that, or are you under the kind of notion that like, just let AI do what it needs to do, and then if they have questions or if they balk at it, then at that point the AI agent can kind of answer the question when they say, "Hey, is this AI?"
Such a good question. We've actually got a lot of data around this because we've been experimenting with these different things. Because I have my own opinions. Everybody's got their own opinions, but we try to lead with data and just experimenting with these different things so we can, just give the best suggestions. I will tell you the caveat to this is, number one, like the lead source and how they're entering your world, because that is often a way that influences their experience of when they make first contact with you. And that's also why our implementation call is really important, because we need to understand that, like, what's your creative that you're running, right? Because that will, in a lot of ways, predicate the success factor. But we have split test running our model, like just openly say, hey, like my name's Alex. I am an AI assistant for ABC Home Buyers. And we've also split test that against, hey, my name's Alex. How can I help you today? And literally 25 to 28% better is the one that doesn't say anything about this as an AI. Like easy. It's pretty interesting, right? And like same voice, same everything, same script, same flow, outside of just like that one small caveat. So our opinion at this point is like, you know what, I think it's best if you don't say it. Obviously, if it comes up, we can have that conversation. But back to the point I made earlier, like if we can just take them through that call flow pretty quickly and effectively, like we're going to be more successful there for our teams that we're working with.
Okay, interesting. All right. Yeah, when Noah gets back in town next week, I think we're starting like a week from Monday. This is something that I think we could test to plug into the new market we just launched. So I think it'd be kind of cool to have that set up. And this could, because we're planning on opening up a lot of other markets, this could really help us to like automate the lead management, the follow up, and just like, 90% of what you'd kind of do in the CRM. And then our humans would obviously just be the ones getting the properties under contract. What else should we know about this system and just AI in general? Is there anything else you're seeing that real estate investors are implementing really well within this system that could really help them to set up more appointments, get more deals?
I think the easiest call out is something that we've talked a little bit about is, lean into low quality lead sources. Not saying you should, I'm not saying you should get away from all the other stuff that you're doing. Obviously, if you got a successful track record, continue to do those things, but we can we can really do some damage and lower your total cost per contract if you wanted to also supplement some of your lead flow with things that maybe notoriously took a lot of your time. So that's kind of thing number one. And that's just because AI, we are a massive filter, right? We can do all of the legwork of a great salesperson or a great follow-up specialist, maybe with unlimited energy, unlimited ability, and you can do that for like basically a lower cost, right? So that's kind of thing number one. I will tell you that just for everybody out there that might be listening to this, if you're thinking about using AI, even if you don't decide to partner with us, that's great. And by the way, I wish you the best. Um, Make sure you educate yourself on how all of this tooling works. There, all these different systems that they have different kind of frameworks that they're operating on. Yes, a lot of them still are relying on these fundamental models that exist in the background, but you also have to take the precaution as an operator. There are things like TCPA requirements that you need to make sure you abide by. You got to make sure you handle all the DNC stuff that's out there. Like, you do need to kind of do some checks and balances. You can get yourself into trouble. And no matter what you decide to build, just make sure you're serving your end customer the right way, because the end customer the right way will ultimately be the one that gives you the better result. So,
100%. Totally agree with that. Daniel, you had another question?
Yeah, so when it comes to it's not, you were saying lower like level like lead sources, like maybe like cold calling, Facebook, text messaging. You feel like this would be great for because basically it's like an excavator. You guys are just like dig through and try to find the gold and then tee it up for us, right? Um, w Once you guys, let's say like you hit a lead, you do the AI call, you set up the appointment. I guess in your guys' system, it sets up like a callback time, or does it integrate with, again, go high level to like set up a reminder to call, or how does that work? Like, how does it communicate with each other?
all of the above. In flight, here's the way it looks and sounds. So I'm calling Tony. I'm the AI. Tony's the lead. I'm like, all right, Tony. So yep, seems like everything's good here. Let me pass you over to our home buying specialist. And so what you'll actually do, let's just say that's your account, you get a notification via text and email. On that notification, there's a little link that says, hey, claim this lead. And so if you hit that button, if you hit the link within the first 60 seconds, we'll do a live transfer directly to you. So we'll just tap that directly
Cool.
into your phone. If nobody hits that link within the first 60 seconds, our agent will get back on the phone and be like, hey, you know what, Tony? I couldn't get anybody on the phone right now, but let's find a time for them to call you back. How does 2 p.m. today look, or 4 p.m. today look? Are you free either one of those times? We have some dialogue. He's like, yeah, 4 p.m. looks good. Fantastic. So I'm like, great. I'm going to have somebody call you at 4 p.m. Have a fantastic day. So we hang up. You get another notification saying we have a booked appointment with Tony, 4 p.m. today. And we typically provide some lead details in there. Boom, boom, boom. Go from there. We'll also zap into your system if we've got it set up this way, the appointment time, the lead, all that kind of stuff. You can also get an invite sent to your email directly, so it's also on your calendar. We throw a bunch of notifications at you if that's what you want from us. We can also throw those notifications right into your CRM as well. And then there's one last piece of this. When that date and time comes, you also get a secondary notification that just says, hey, reminder, Daniel, you got to call Tony. His scheduled appointments right now. And then, you can decide to pick up the call there or go into your CRM and do whatever you got to do.
Cool. And what is usually the cost associated? What's your guys' pricing look like?
We have a kind of like a flexible framework where we know there's teams that are kind of all over the place as far as, I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, actually, you guys should be able to see this. I know you're driving, so let me do this. We have just kind of like a pay per lead model. If you're doing, I would say like lower volume leads per month. So 99 cents per lead that we manage the lead. If you're doing a lot of leads or we're handling a large part of your system, it's a flat rate. So $1,000 a month between 1,000 and 5,000 leads. And then for bigger teams or bigger books of leads, it's $3,800 a month for anything that's over 5,000 leads. So, and we got some flexibility that's in there as well. Daniel, I will say this, and Tony, I don't know if Noah told you this, but you guys are all free to have a free trial. We've got a couple hundred leads that you can throw into the system, play around with it, no strings attached, anything like that. So
Cool.
happy to work with you guys.
Noah told me it was 99 cents per lead. I'm like, that sounds really inexpensive. So to be able to get all of that for 99 cents per lead, that's pretty awesome. I like that.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that.
Cool.
Cool.
Anything
Thank
else,
you, man. Appreciate it.
anything else, Daniel?
No, that's all I got right now. Thank you.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Well, appreciate it, Jarod, man. This is an awesome platform you built. I know that we'll look into testing this in the markets that we're going into. Especially for like one man shows. Like I see so many one man shows that I'm like, there's no way you're answering all the calls. There's no way you're answering, at least 70% of the calls, which I think is like the very minimum of where you need to be. We talk to our clients like you need to be getting a hold of at least 90% of your leads. Like that's kind of the metric that you need to shoot for. So one man shows, small teams, and even big teams. Like there are some teams that just drive a ton of leads. And I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier. As we were looking at some of our clients and what they were doing with their leads, we actually started buying phone numbers for our clients in the beginning and actually having the phone numbers route through our system first. And some names, I could say a name of a couple of real estate investors that most people would know, and they were not answering most of their leads. And sometimes even when they were being answered, some of their team were just like, "Hello?" And it's like, wait a second, you're running TV commercials, you're trying to look really professional, and your team's answering hello.
Yeah.
And so that really takes out like the guesswork of like, are these leads going to be answered? Are they going to be, are you going to get the lead into the system? Because again, if you're not answering the phone, it's going to voicemail, which actually some people teach it to go to teach for people that when leads come in for them to go to voicemail, which I think is totally the wrong way to do it.
Wow.
So, I think human live answer is probably the best overall because you have that human connection, especially someone that's on your team. But the way that we'll probably use it is we'll have it go to our lead manager. And then if our lead manager doesn't answer after a couple rings, then it goes to, hey, Rafi, AI answers, and then it just goes through the whole process. So,
Yeah.
anything else I'm missing? Anything else that you want to touch on before we wrap up? And I guess like, are there any add-ons you're looking to do in the future? Like, is there anything else with AI that you guys think is like maybe the next big thing that you guys can either add on to your sales, hey Rafi, or just anything else outside of sales that you think AI wise that real estate investors need to kind of look into and be prepared for?
Well, I'll tell you that I think our biggest roadmap update that we're thinking about is, or I shouldn't even say we're thinking about. We've already built it. We're now going through the pilot program, but is dispositions. Same thing,
Yeah.
but obviously in reverse. So especially for the wholesale shops out there, the opportunity to go sell your opportunity to build your buyers list. That's gonna be a big thing. There's the tertiary component of this, which is actually then helping manage partial or a portion of the actual transaction itself, right? Doing some more of like the TC work that's in there. That's kind of, in my opinion, maybe the easiest step of all of this, right? We're handling all of the connective tissue between where rubber meets the road, so maybe a little bit harder. Those are some of the big things, and then it's really going to be the continued evolution of the way that our model is becoming more influential as a sales person himself or herself, however you want to think about this. We're thinking about like using predictive indexes to have like a different way that we can communicate with people depending on who they are and how they like to be spoken with. And maybe one kind of final thing that I think we're thinking about is also how do we provide maybe more like demand gen services also for our customers. So that might be a conversation where I come to somebody like yourself in the future. I'm like, Tony, how do I use TV to like for our advantage and actually bring leads into our ecosystem, and then we can help support, maybe they're just a flipper doing 1 deal a year, right? Or 2 deals a year, right? And they're not necessarily going to get a lot of value out of our product, but we can use something like the influence of TV to drive opportunities into our platform. And, we can use our model to effectively handle those calls and determine like where we can best place them and serve them in a way that's going to be valuable for everybody. So that's kind of it. I don't know that there's really much else, man. I mean, those are like the big, fun, sexy updates.
Yeah, I think dispositions could be a really good one, because if you have a proper, like, again, one man shows, like if they're doing all the appointments and, if they could just take a contract or a deal, put it in the system, have their buyers list in there, and just have it text and, call or email or whatever, just everybody in the system, and then have conversations with them. That could really take a lot of time off their plate and help them get in front of, investors that maybe they don't typically have time for. So I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, looking forward to getting to rocking with you guys. Sorry, I'll miss you in boardroom, by the way, but I'm sure we'll circle the wagons and see each other in passing here real soon.
Yeah, I'll see you at the next one for sure. So appreciate you, man.
Thanks, brother. Really appreciate you, man. Cheers.
All right, thanks. We'll see you.